That's how I like it. Hey, everybody. We're about to get started. I'm sorry I forgot about the episode number again. What episode?
42069.
Yeah, it's 42069. Nail it. I got it one.
Shit, dude, we're old.
I mean, we're going to die before we get to that number anyway. So
yeah, that's like 4,000.
well use it.
Yeah, that's... I guess that would be like 42,000.
42,069.
69, yeah. So, I don't know if we'll make it, unless we start pumping out like 3 a week.
It'd have to be every day.
Yeah.
It'd have to be every day.
We'd have to be doing 365
You know
podcasts
Streaming
here.
Chan from Valhalla? The girl who streams her life 24/7?
Yes.
We'd basically be that, the podcast.
Yeah, I feel like people would get kind of bored of it.
Do you think that would work in today's environment?
Like a Truman Show shit. It would
just somebody streaming their life 24/7 onto Twitch or some other platform.
I think it could work. Yeah, I think someone could make that work. I just don't think it would be very engaging. I think it would have ups and downs, kind of like.
And that's what I'm thinking. Like, would people watch that? Is there
There'd be a prime time element where it would start off with, "Hey, here's yesterday's recap.
Yeah.
Here's roughly what we did today."
Yeah.
And then it's like there'd be a peak viewership at like
7 to 8.
I don't know.
Well, the idea behind Streaming Chan
like 3 or 4 hours.
was that they were on some website that supported premium streams as well. And whenever she would do something that was, like R18, or like change or bathroom or some shit, it would flip into a premium payer only stream.
Huh.
And then the rest of her life was free. You could watch.
Interesting.
It's pretty interesting. That game, man, such a cool game.
Yeah. All right. It is Sunday, September 20th, 2020, and you are listening to the Irrational Passions podcast. I am Alex O'Neill, your host this evening, and joining me, as always, Mr. Scott Guthier.
Hello.
Mr. Tony Horvath.
Hey.
And no Mr. Brian Nobshin Jackson tonight. He is singing happy birthday to his mom. Probably right now also, which is sweet. This is a late night podcast. I think the last time we started recording after 9 p.m. was 2016. It's been
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Oh, no, there's nothing wrong with
It's
that.
COVID times. Who knows what time it is anymore?
Exactly. Tony and I just got some nap in. Tony had some tacos. Scott's like, God, I hope these guys don't keep me up till fucking 3 in the morning.
Scott's usually up that late nowadays anyways.
I don't know.
Somewhat. Not during the week generally. It very much so depends.
You get that late night Sunday recording when we're all loosey goosey and getting weird. And Nobshin's away, so the kids will play. We got a good show for tonight. Spelunky 2 came out. I mentioned at the end of last week's podcast that I would be a changed man. I am. And here we are. That's it. That's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. No. Just a couple of things to start off with. A little bit of housekeeping real quick over on irrationalpassions.com. So we've been doing a lot of video stuff, not a lot of stuff over on the website. At some point in the near future, we'll finally get together a new trip to Nintendo Land to recap all the stuff Nintendo's been up to. What sucks was the Super Mario 3 All-Stars collection came out on Friday. I don't know if you picked it up yet, Scott. I had it pre-ordered on Amazon because Nintendo's doing this thing where they're only selling it through the end of March. I was like, I'll get the physical edition because if they're only going to sell it for a limited time, I'd rather just have that. The same kind of societal peer pressure that caused me to buy the Crash Bandicoot physical edition and not the digital one. And Amazon told me the day that it was supposed to get to me that, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this isn't going to get there on Friday. Well, we should have told you that. And it's the one time I've bought
and it's wait a second, it's not coming at all.
Oh, it's not. It's never going. No, it's coming on Tuesday. But it's the one time I bought something physically, and it's of course. But once I have my copy of that, I can play a little bit. That's when we're probably going to record Nintendo Land. So look for that probably next week or the following week. But we have been doing stuff over on YouTube, youtube.com/irrationalpassions and twitch.tv/irrationalpassions. We've been doing our Viewpoint series, which I've mentioned a few times before if you've listened to the show before, where we sit down and just talk over a game and kind of take a deeper dive into it. We've done some more intricate ones recently that I'm pretty proud of. We looked at the DLC for Control for folks who did not get to check out the AWE stuff, which is really cool. We looked at Marvel's Avengers, specifically what the loop at the end game looks like. So Mike and I spent an hour just here's what the 3 goddamn missions you're going to be doing over and over again until the raid comes out. And then we did, Quinn and I did a viewpoints of the Outer Worlds DLC, which we got code for, which it's been a while since anyone's talked about that game at all. So if you needed a refresher, I think that's a good little entry point to kind of hear what's going on with that game now. So go check those things out. And then we got more on the horizon. I started this week on Tuesday. I started my weekly Spelunky streams. I imagine they're going to be on Wednesdays every week going forward. That is my goal. And Scott and I also streamed Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which was Tuesday, right, Scott? It was Tuesday night.
Yeah, it was Tuesday.
Which we played for 3 hours. That was a ton of fun. We listened to an Irish woman tell us poems about levels all day. So yeah, check out those stuff. If there's not stuff on the website, or if you're missing the podcast or whatever, there's usually other stuff going on. So check it out. But that's it. We should talk about video games, because this is the week that I would like to talk about video games.
Hell yeah.
I'll go first real quick, because I mentioned before we started. I played Among Us for the first time. I'll write this down. The hot new craze of 2020, the hottest game of 2017 and 2020. I played it with this group of people that I met at, or that we not met but hung out at PAX East. That is just assorted random people that I got kind of pulled into. It was already a full established group that plays together regularly. So I kind of came into it as my first experience. And I had fun hanging out with all of them, but I just, for me, the first 2 rounds, just for your guys' reference, first 2 rounds I'm ever playing, and I'm playing on my phone, is as the imposter, so I have no fucking idea what's going on. So literally my first introduction to this game, and I get it. I know I've seen people play it, and I know it. I hadn't seen specifically enough to see people doing tasks or whatever you're supposed to fucking do in that game, if you're not trying to kill everybody. And the way we start, we all get in all right, and then everyone goes dead silent, and it's all right, I know what people are supposed to do as the imposter, but I've never played this game before. Let me see if I can figure it out. Spoilers, I didn't figure it out. And that was the first 2 rounds like that, just into the deep end, and I was outed very quickly. Also, one time when I got a murder, the person who I murdered was also kind of new. And when we got a meeting called out, they were like, "That guy killed me." It's wait, you're not supposed to tell anyone you're alive. So it was fun, but I just I don't know. I feel like I would want to play with a group of newbies and kind of get our feet wet together versus kind of jump in with a bunch of veterans. That's why I'm kind of intimidated to play with you guys.
Well, I mean, at the same time, to me, it sounds like they just gave you poor instruction.
Yeah,
when we played with a bunch of new people, they gave us pretty good instruction, and while we were confused a bit, that kind of just made us bad and not fish out of water.
Yeah, I felt a little fish out of water, but now I've got my feet wet. I think by the end of it, I had some I was throwing out some wild accusations. There's definitely a moment at the end where it was me, and I knew I wasn't an imposter, and 3 other people, and I didn't trust any of them. I was I don't want to be in a room alone with any of you fuckers, it was cool. So I got a little bit of it by the end of it. But
ooh, yeah. I gotta throw you some tips on that one.
Yeah, that's
Hey, as regards to crew, the first tip as a crewmate. Unless you're the biggest brain in the room, your life is worthless.
It's very true.
just think about it. There's 3 people left, right? Aside from you.
Mm-hmm.
If you split off into a group of 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
If one person's dead, right? What's the other group of 2 gonna think it is? How does the one person get away with it?
Yeah,
they don't.
That's true.
All they have to do is circle around and find the body, and or call after a certain amount of time, after you haven't seen each other for a bit, call the emergency button.
most impressive part about that I think threw me into the unknown of like I don't trust any of these people was that one of the imposters sold out the other imposter intentionally to make them seem innocent. And there was a lot of like level 3 mind games going on, and I was like still introduction, like pre-level 1, like intro to mind games, like 193 or something, you know, they were on 301. And it was a lot. But I'll play again soon. Before I talk about Spelunky, which I will talk about Spelunky, don't worry. The other games I've been playing this week, I mentioned last week, I was replaying the first 3 Sly Cooper games. I'm bummed Nabashin's not here, just because I was like in my head, and this is very much for me, and I get no one's gonna agree with me on this. It's fine. But I was like, the Sly Cooper Trilogy, Sly Cooper Thieves Racunas, Sly Cooper Thieves Gang, whatever the second one's called, Among Thieves, Honor Among Thieves is the third one. That trilogy is like definitely, in my opinion, the best trilogy in video games. Which I came to that thought, and I was like really genuinely racking my brain for like big video game trilogies, and couldn't think of Mass Effect, which was the one that I thought of. Like, oh yeah, that one would probably be a good one to contest it. For me, I just really like I like that there are like consequences in like these weirdly, like they're kids games, but it's kind of like, you know, they thread the line well, where it I think there's a lot to get out of it for all audiences. Of like, you know, at the end of the second game, you know, Bentley gets like injured and crippled, and it's very graphic and awful. And like for the rest of that franchise, he's in a wheelchair. You know, it's not a thing where like that had no consequences and we never ever see the effect of it ever. It's like, oh no, this character literally plays completely differently because we had to like, you know, account for this thing that happened to him. But then also like, oh wow, like there's a character in a wheelchair in this game that's one of the main characters and is very capable, and I like how they portray that. It's something that you don't see a lot in video games. It's something that I've heard folks talking about recently. I know some people don't necessarily care about that level of representation, but I think it was really cool. And I something going back to it of like, oh yeah, I think they handled this really well, and they just kind of went for a thing, and they didn't treat it like it was weird or different at all, and that's why it worked. So yeah, I really like that, where all those characters go in that little trilogy. Started playing Sly 4. The kind of intent of this was like, I haven't played that game in 7 years, like since it came out in 2013 ever. I haven't touched it. I don't remember anything about it, which was really cool. Going back to it, I was like, man, I don't remember any of this. I remember kind of the general, the 5 levels and the beats of the story, but definitely nothing else. It was one of those things where I was like, I wonder if like I just hate this game, and that's why I haven't played it again in 7 years. And there was definitely a little bit of coming back into it, like, ooh, like I don't know how I feel about this change in art style and kind of like there's a weird kind of alt to the controls. But after I played through the first couple of chapters, I was like, man, this is actually maybe the best one. Like this one does so much right and understands these characters so well. And even though it's a different developer, different team, like there's so much love in this. Weird how everyone like got way sexier, which is just odd. It stands out a little bit, but like they kind of applied it to everyone pretty equally, so I don't think about it too much. But yeah, that's my Sly Cooper update. Still, I will maybe get back to Sly 4 if I ever stop playing Spelunky. But Spelunky 2 came out, so I've been playing that. That game's great. It was funny, Scott, on our stream Tuesday, you asked me like, what's the big difference between this and the original Spelunky? And you know, it's a hard question to answer, but I think it's a good place to start. Of like, you know, this, it's cool how this feels like a reboot of Spelunky. You know, like they're kind of, you know, you're going through the mines, the jungle, ice caves were there. You know, the temple's there.
As a quick side note, a perfectly acceptable answer would be to say, I die a lot more often.
I die a lot more often is true, but it's not like. It doesn't feel like I die because the game is harder, I would say, yeah, but like I don't know if it's harder because there's more hazards necessarily. It seems like it, certainly.
May just be that the world gen is different.
But yeah, it's like
you have to relearn everything.
It's different enough that yeah, I have to kind of like unlearn the habits that I had from the first game and learn new habits. And I just like there's so much more now. I've played a lot of it. I've played like probably like 60 hours this week. Like an absolutely untenable, unhealthy amount of Spelunky 2. And I've not finished any run of it. I've gotten pretty far at this point, and it's been cool because one, a lot of people have been getting into it that I didn't expect. Like Nobishin has been playing a lot. He's been sending me like PSN videos of his best runs and being like, yo, I found this, I found this, like this seems crazy, this seems cool to, and he's been getting really into the secrets and stuff. I'll send you guys, if you guys want to see it, my best runs that I had. I put a video together for him because he was asking about it. Spoiler warning. But yeah, in Alex Van Aken from OK Beast has been texting me all week about it, asking me for tips here and there, and that's been like super cool to see. Quinn himself has been texting me about it as well and playing through it. So a lot of people I didn't expect to be playing it have been playing it. So I think that's it is approachable maybe in a way that the first one wasn't, and people are getting like good at it too. Like I find the game like pretty hard, and it's hard to, I would say, get to even the second world. Because of how they've changed the mines and that kind of opening level. But a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are texting me about it, like, oh, I just got to Olmec for the first time. What do I do? It's super cool. So what I'd say, because I've played a lot of it and I've seen a lot of different cool stuff. Like they've changed a lot of how just like the balance of the game itself works. There's a 3-minute timer on every level. Instead of a 2.5-minute timer, right? So the ghost doesn't show up till 3 minutes. But now, when the ghost shows up, it's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, we need to jet, because one, he moves twice as fast, at least. But two, after about, I think it's like 30 seconds, maybe, the ghost will split into two ghosts. One is a happy face ghost, and one is a sad face ghost. And the sad one moves kind of slowly, and the happy one moves very quickly. And they will try and box you in. It's not even just a thing of like they'll just both come after you. They'll like loop around and come at you from both angles to try and box you in, which I think is very much for the folks that want to do the high score runs, like that want to kind of exploit the ghost in the late game, especially if they get like the plasma rifle or anything. Like these kind of old things that were part of speed runnings or high score chasing in the first game, you just can't do that shit anymore. They've changed the fundamentals of the game in a way that makes it at least very hard to play it like you played the first game. So that's one aspect of it. But two, like the levels are way bigger and there's just way more going on. This whole like there are parts of each level that you can kind of go into like this background, this second layer. And what I love is like this new second layer level, these hidden areas. They are where a lot of the crazy secret shit happens, like the crazy secret shit happens. And it's, I think on one front, it's like, oh, like, the worm was such a cool thing, right? In the jungle or the ice caves, right? In the first game, throw a damsel at this big, like little pulsing bulb, in either 2-1 or 3-1, and you'll get taken to this worm level. It's a really long vertical level, and that's kind of like how a hidden level would be introduced in that first game, which I really like, and I still think is really cool. In this, you'll find like a secret door, and you'll go into the background, and then you'll discover that there's just a whole ass level back there. The way they get that to work, because you're not going to a new level, you're not resetting your timer, is they've introduced this new item called the 4-leaf clover, and it extends the timer from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, which is like a really clever way to make the game, I'd say, like more organic in how you find secrets, because you're not like jumping between levels. You're not feeling like you can't backtrack. So in like the secret levels that have made a comeback, right? Like the Black Market, for example, right, where there's a bunch of hidden items you get to through the jungle. You get to the Black Market exactly the same way you did in the first game, but the experience is really different, and the way that level looks and feels is really different, and all the things that you can kind of get along the way are really different. So anyone that played that first game, like me, right? It's like, okay, I go find the golden chest in the first level, and then go to the jungle, and then in the jungle, the little eye is gonna tick somewhere, and I blow up where that is, and then boom, there's a secret exit that leads now into the second layered area. That's like this huge area. It's the black market. There's also the way that they're like, all right, let's just blow this whole shit out of the goddamn water, right? That is like what I just described. Get the gold key in the mines, do all that. That makes total sense, and that feels very normal from like that first game. The way that they throw a wrench in all of that is in this, right? In World 1, the dwelling is what it's actually called, but I just call it the mines. At the end of it, is always the same level. 1-4 is always the same level. It's a boss fight level with this big caveman dude named Quillback. You don't actually have to fight him, but it's like, it's kind of layered down in like this hourglass shape where it's kind of leading you dead center. That's where he is. He can kind of tear a pathway either left or right. If you go left, you go to the jungle. If you go right, you go to like a lavanos. I forgot exactly what they call it, but the lava caves essentially. And these are two totally different worlds, like 2-1, 2-1, both of them, and they have totally different like unique shit going on in either of them. And what I like is that you get, let's say you get that eye, that Uchid eye, the thing that you get with the gold key in the first world. It's kind of like the big major secret in the first world. And if you go to the lava caves, you will use that item in one way, and if you go to the jungle, you will use it in a completely different way. And that will get you a new item that will then be used later on in later worlds, I assume. I haven't really figured that part out yet, but I'm still working on it. So not only did they kind of give you this option of like, oh, I want to go to the jungle this run, or I want to go to the lava caves this run. They also like filled out both options with their own very unique and very full feeling secrets, right? So you're not just getting like the Spelunky 1 experience if you go the jungle route. You're getting something very different and updated and fresh. But you can also, if you're like tired of that shit, you can go this other way and find a whole new litany of completely new shit that I'm very curious to see how, like, what the progression you need to get to like whatever the secret world in this game is equivalent. But playing this, I have a feeling that like it's just way longer than the previous game, and it's just there's way more going on, which I like. I'm a fan of. But that 3-minute timer, the levels being bigger. There's also like you'll enter. They're called Cavernous Levels. Is like your voice echoes in here. It says that when you enter, and it's just gigantic levels, like enormous, like full of shit to do, to find. And 3 minutes is never enough to find. So they'll throw curveballs like that at you. It is everything that first game had. This is like just it's not just double down. It's not like we're gonna do more of it. It's like, all right, well, how could we tweak that to make it either more interesting, more engaging, more challenging, or like more secretive? Like there's a little bit more layers to it to figure out, and all of it works for me. Surprising no one. Like I've been anticipating this game for a very long time, like since 2013, I would say, feeling like, okay, I think that you could make another Spelunky and you could add a lot more to it. This is like way more than I could have ever hoped for. And it's funny, they show like how many locations you've seen, and knowing that like stuff like the black market and the city of gold, if that's in this game, I don't actually know yet, or this or that, like they're not their own worlds, they're just like backdrops to levels. Like, so there are 16 levels, I've seen 7 of them, so not even half. There's 16 different areas, and all of them I think will have their own kind of backdrop secret area. So like my best run I've ever had, I got to the ice caves once, which is world 5-1, is where that starts. And I just kind of stumbled into the secret background area of that, which was like a Yeti cave. And it immediately broke bad for me, as I'm sure you guys can imagine. So like that was like just my first trip to the fifth world and trying to figure out what's going on there. And immediately found myself in a ton of secrets that were bigger and crazier and scarier than I could have ever imagined. So
Cool.
it's like, yeah, it's when people are like, yeah, this is game of the year, you know, like this, I can already see Spelunky 2 I will be playing for as many years as I played the first one, and I am absolutely head over heels for it already. Like, it's one of those things where, like, in a year like this, where, like, wow, boy, we've had some hitters, like Persona 5 Royal is up there. Like, I think narratively and emotionally and like, where I'm at, and those are the things that lead me for games. Like, I will always lean into the feels of a thing for the most part. Persona 5 is always going to be like that. That's my, like, number one feels and delivers on everything. But, like, if I'm just talking about a game I want to play and feel and have that responsiveness and the satisfaction of play, the video game-ass video game, like Spelunky 2 is that. I don't know if I've ever played a game that felt as good as Spelunky 2, period. And I know, like, I'm particular to that. I would say the same about the first game, and this is exactly that to a T, with some new kind of intricacies and new abilities that you can do, right? Like, there's like this cool thing where you can throw yourself off a wall with a whip attack if you're holding onto a ledge, and you can drop whatever you're carrying on your back now instead of just drop the item you're carrying, stuff like that. So just a few additions to your moveset, but for the most part it's unchanged, and it is still great. So yeah. Did you guys have any questions about Spelunky 2? I know I just ranted about it, but
No, it sounds awesome. I really I watched a lot of a streamer play that game, so I'm kind of like in the know.
Yeah.
Without having played it, I know a lot about it, and man, that game looks awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait for a PC release.
Yep. 9 days from now. Not far at all. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you guys think. I'm excited for you to get, like, deep into those secrets too, Tony. And it's funny because, like, the first time around, right, I wasn't, like, when I played Spelunky originally, it was in an era before roguelikes were as big as they were. Keep in mind, like, 2012 was definitely before stuff like Binding of Isaac had blown up, and a lot of, like, the kind of modern classics and that, even like Rogue Legacy and stuff. A lot of the classics in that genre that we think of weren't in place yet, and I hadn't played them and wouldn't play them for a couple of years. So when I was jumping into Spelunky, I didn't really know that this was a game packed full of secrets, right? So I just kind of played, and I beat it eventually, and it wasn't until probably a couple months after I had finished, like, the Olmec level for the first time that I learned that there was a fifth world at all. And I was like, that can't be right. And I looked it up. And I looked up what you had to do to get to it. Like, all right, in the mines, you get the huge eye. In the jungle, you find the black market. In the black market, you buy the Ankh. In the ice caves, you die on a specific level. You get the head jet. In the temple, you kill Anubis with the head jet. And then you take his scepter, and then you go to the City of Gold. Then you beat Olmec. And then you land on Olmec's head to go to hell, right? Like, what was that? What is this shit? And I watched somebody do it, and I'm like, okay, I'll never do that. I'll never, ever, because I had, like, barely beaten Olmec at all. I'll never have the capability of ever doing that ever in my lifetime. And then I did it many, 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 many times because, you know, practice makes perfect. And Spelunky is one of those things where you do feel like you will get better and you will be able to get there. You know, you'll get the right item drop. You'll get the thing that you need to maybe make you more accessible to that option for you. So, like, going into the second one, knowing, like, okay, I don't want to spoil anything for myself. I kind of want to keep the blinders on. I want to see what I can figure out on my own because I know there's stuff to figure out now. And I want to take the knowledge I have from the first game and try and apply it to this to learn those puzzles and stuff. And there's definitely been things that I've figured out. Like what I like is it's more than just these are things you have to do. It is also like, here are things you can do that will make your life way, way easier, right? In the jungle, throughout the levels, there's, like, 3 sisters that are hidden, like, they're trapped in, like, these background areas. And keep in mind, this is all in addition to, like, the black market stuff that's going on and all that. If you free those 3 sisters, when you get to Olmec, which Olmec happens on 3-1, there's, like, a whole thing. I don't necessarily think this is a spoiler because it gets way crazier after that. those three sisters will be there, and they will give you 12 bombs if you saved all of them. If you save 2 of them, they'll give you 3 bombs. So it's one of those things of like, okay, like I don't need to do this, and if it's one of those things where it's gonna put me in too much danger, I don't have enough health to make enough risks to do this, I won't. But if you can pull this off, if you can do these 3 quick things in that across that whole world, you'll get like this huge boon that helps you get through to the next part that much easier. And the same is true of like the lava area. There's like a hidden NPC that you can find there that can help you with something there as well. And I'm trying to be vague about some things. I don't want to ruin everything, but I do want to talk about some things. So yeah, it is cool how it's more than just like you have to go do this specific thing. You have like options. Like I said, there are multiple points where you branch out and select different levels to go to. I found 2 of those points. There might be a third. I don't actually know yet. And yeah, there's a lot of possibility with how that game can end and how many levels there actually are and how many levels that actually you have to go. How many full worlds do you have to go through to get to the end of that game? I have no idea yet, but I'm very excited to find out.
The game still supports like 4-player co-op, yeah?
Yeah, it's 4-player local co-op, and which works the same way it did in Spelunky 1. So there's a flag carrier, and the camera follows them. And now there's online co-op for the first time. I've not played any of it yet. I know they were having some like launch day issues, but they've patched the game twice since it came out. So
all I'm saying is, if you want to play some online co-op, I'll buy that shit.
Yeah, dude. I haven't tried it yet, so I want to make sure it's good because like if they do the thing where it's still kind of stuck to one camera and it's online co-op, that would be kind of a bummer. But if they
a little weird for it to work that way,
exactly, especially because
I'd be pretty surprised if it worked that way.
I would be too. But
I honestly think it'd probably be harder to code that than to just let everybody control their own camera.
Yeah, I would think, but I just want to make sure first and make sure it's a decent enough experience. A couple of people have asked me to try, and it was one of those things of like, oh yeah, we'll do it, and then it just kind of fell through. Quarantine times and all that, but
COVID times.
Yeah, I've played a lot of it, and part of it is like I want to see as much as I can before I play, but also like this feels like a thing that is like there's so much. Like I feel like I'm gonna be fine. I wasn't sure where I would be at like at the end of week 1 with Spelunky 2, and I feel like I found way more than I thought I would. To be fair, I didn't think I would get to like the Ice Cave or World 5 or whatever, which is really like World 4 to be fair. But I, getting there and now seeing what all I have left to see, it's like, okay, I haven't even seen half of this game yet. So I'm fine with like trying to parse things out. I don't know what the point, maybe after I beat it for the first time will be the point where I'm like, okay, I'll just let myself fucking look some stuff up now. But having recently I played through and kind of quasi finished Undermine, like I beat the main part of it, but there's an extra boss they have to fight. Having that experience and being like, okay, like, here's a roguelike that I'm kind of coming into fresh and it has some Spelunky elements to it. Let me see what secrets. I'm not gonna look anything up for this game. I had like a warm up for Spelunky 2, which I appreciate. So it's cool. I'm still learning items that interact with each other and stuff like that, but yeah, it's absolutely it's more than anything I could have ever wanted. But like I know it's easy to be super hyperbolic about this stuff, and just take it from that grain of salt of like I played probably like 600 hours of the first Spelunky, like realistically, maybe I'll say 1,000 in my head, but like realistically probably like 600 hours of that game. I played it again and again over the course of like 8 years. It's a very special game to me. So getting into this and like it is that and times 100, of course it's going to fire on all cylinders for me. So keep that in mind. But having a lot of people reach out to me that like they didn't play the first one at all, they're kind of jumping into this because they know so many people love it, and they're having a great time with it and they think it's addictive and everything. Like that's awesome, and I think it merits that it's worth a shot. But also, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the most addictive video game I've ever played. This has been, for me, outside of like Persona and stuff like that is like top tier for like that. This is like probably the hardest video game I've ever had to put down. Like I have to walk away from this session. Like I've seriously played for like 10 hours straight multiple times and just like, oh my God, I cannot even blink afterwards. just because like the tantalizing feeling of one more run is unbelievably good in that game. So yeah, it's that's a easy like game of the decade contender for anyone out there that's looking for it. So but that's it. That's all I've been playing. Tony, what about you, man? What you been playing?
Yeah, so the beginning of this week, I didn't play a lot because I was really busy with like just stuff in life and messing with all that kind of stuff, just moved and all that. So it was like a couple games of League here and there, but mostly just a lot of like hanging out and like watching content creators stuff and not actually doing anything myself. And then came to Friday, and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Path of Exile Heist League dropped.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I had spent the 2 days prior theory crafting, perfecting, and figuring out what I was going to play for the league start.
Just for my curiosity, don't mean to cut you off, but like how much time would you ballpark that you put into like preparing for a league?
Like 20 hours probably.
Damn. Wow.
And then like a lot of just talking. The thing about Path of Exile is that I like talking about the game and theory crafting for the game just as much as I like playing it. So it's even though it's mostly a single player game, it's kind of more like a game that I play in parallel with many people.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, I'm in a guild of like 20 people who I used to play Black Wizard Online with, and then a couple other friends who have joined for Path of Exile. And we all play the league when the league starts. So, leading up to league, we're all talking about it, designing builds, figuring out what we're going to play, all that. And then when we start, we're talking about the game and, what like how it's going, and we can trade stuff, and all that stuff kind of compounds on the actual experience of playing the game. Which is cool because in Heist League, everybody quit super, super early, right? Because the league was kind of boring at the beginning, and everyone was like, I'm just going to wait for the next one because this one kind of seems like it's going to be a dud. Turns out it wasn't, but a lot of people had already stopped playing. Yeah. So it was really me and one other person from the guild who played the entire league, Then this league, everyone's playing. So it's really cool. So I got all the preparation done. COVID times, work from home situation. I adjusted my sleep schedule so that I woke up at 3:30 on that day, 3:30 p.m.
Nice.
League started at 4.
I appreciate that preparedness.
So yeah, I slept, woke up, started playing, and I played Path of Exile as well as like a couple other distractions. So I wasn't just completely straight Path of Exile, but I played Path of Exile from Friday at 4 p.m. until Sunday at 11 a.m. without sleeping.
It's like some Spelunky 2 sessions going on right now, Tony. I love it. You and me are in similar places for very different video games.
Yeah. So it's great, man. Path of Exile is so fun.
What's the league mechanic?
So the league mechanic is called Heist. So basically, in maps, these things called rogue tokens can drop. And there's a small chance of contracts being dropped from monsters, but there are also these little caches sometimes in maps that when you open them, you get some rogue tokens and these blueprints and contracts and such. So you can take those, and then if you activate one of these rogue tokens, which you get like hundreds of them, like 40 of them drop at a time. If you activate one, it opens a portal to this new area, which is a small town with like between 10 and 12 NPCs in it. That are all these crew members that you can then level up and organize, and these blueprints then contracts that you get are little heists to go into a certain area, extract a high value thing, and get out of there. And so these people in the town, one might be a really good lockpick, the other one might be a really good like strong man, so he can force open doors. Then one might be a good deception person who can like talk through a wall and get someone on the other side to open a door for you, or something like that.
Cool.
So kind of each one that you get, and these items for the heists themselves are craftable just like any other map would be. So they're kind of like map drops for this specific type of map. They will require a certain level and specialty of crew member that you bring with you. So you need to level up your crew members to get into the better heists and such. And then eventually you can go on these things called grand heists, which are way more in depth. You bring multiple crew members with you, and you have to go through and do a certain thing to get, and then that has like really big rewards at the end. The smaller heists are more for like maybe you might get some loot because there's a bunch of stuff you could open along the way. But when you're in these maps, you go in and you're trying to get through the map to the end before this alert meter fills up at the bottom, which is increased by killing things and by opening chests that will increase it a certain amount. There are also like bigger chests with higher rewards that increase the bar by like 25%. So you kind of have to figure out like, how can I get from the beginning of the map to the end of the map, clearing the way, especially for me, because I'm playing a build that is non-discriminatory in what it kills. It just kills everything near it. I can't really like play stealth,
Yeah.
So I can't just pass a patrol. I have to kill them all. So you have to get to the end of the map, and you only loot just enough, because if you get the alert bar to full, you have 20 seconds, or which this time can be increased by crafting the map or having better crew members. But it's like a baseline of 20 seconds before the map enters lockdown, which means that the big treasure at the end is no longer attainable and you fail. So you try and get as close to, basically the way that I've figured out to do it is like you clear the map all the way up to the treasure as efficiently as you can, and kind of like gauging on how quickly your bar is filling up. There may be some side areas that have some chests that you just don't go over to, because you're not going to have time. And once the alarm starts, you can't open any more chests except for one per crew member who came with you. They can like use an ability to open one more chest. So a lot of the times, like I'll go into a map and like there might be like a one big chest that does like 25% of the bar that's near the entrance. So I'll leave that for later. So on my way out, I can use that ability to open the big chest. So anyway, you go through, you open chests if you can, and then you try and trigger the alarm in a way that you're opening a big chest when you do it. And then you use that 20 seconds to open a chest and then immediately sprint over and grab the big treasure. Once you have that, then the basically like endless enemies start spawning and you have to fight your way out. And you can loot on the way back. So I'll try and like hit the big chest, go pick up the big thing, go back and loot whatever dropped from the big chest, and then make my way out.
Smart,
opening one more big chest or small chest on the way if I have the ability to.
That's cool.
The interesting thing is that if you die once the alarm is up, you can't go back in. And all of the items that you find in a heist are marked as contraband, which drop from your inventory if you die.
Oh yeah.
So you have to get out to keep your stuff. And it's pretty cool. It's an interesting
really
mechanic.
Cool. I mean, there's nothing like that in the base game, right?
No, not really.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's a mechanic on the scale of something like Delve, which is something that they added a long time ago, which is like a big mine that you're digging down into, and it's a bunch of like procedurally generated mine levels that you can go from one to the other and get specific types of loot.
Yeah, but these are heists.
It's kind of like you have a bit more control over. Yeah, exactly.
Who doesn't love a good caper?
It's a bit different.
That's
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's cool.
It definitely could use a bit of a balance pass. I think I may have to change characters if they don't balance it a certain way, because my character, like I said, just kills everything around it, which ends up filling like 75% of the bar. So I can't actually loot much of anything on the way in, because I don't have the option to not kill things. So, but I think that the top complaint of the entire league so far is how quickly that bar fills up when you're just killing stuff. I think people would prefer to make their decisions based on what they loot, rather than just I killed the whole map and I can only get the thing that doesn't really give me any rewards, except for the big treasure you can sell to a fence to get back rogue tokens, which you pay the crew with, basically. So if you get out with the treasure, you kind of recoup the cost for the raid. So you didn't really gain much if you just go in, get the treasure, and leave, except for some experience on your guys.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are like, especially people who are playing builds that can't play stealthy, are like, it's kind of like there's a really, really high opportunity cost to play the mechanic.
Yeah.
The one complaint that I have about it is that compared to other methods of playing the game, Heist awards almost no experience for your character comparatively for the time invested. So it's a huge opportunity cost to actually play the mechanic right now, rather than just mapping or doing something else. Because, like, for example, one heist I looked at, like I started from start to finish of a heist, I get like 13% of a level. And in the same time it would have taken me to do that whole heist, like start to finish planning and all that stuff, I could have run like 4 maps and gained like a level and a half.
Yeah.
Instead of 13% of one.
Yeah.
So the opportunity, like I've gotten some pretty good rewards dropped from it. You know, the loot is pretty good, but the opportunity cost is that you're not progressing your character much at all if you are doing that. And I'm killing everything. You know, imagine people who aren't.
Yeah. Do you think that's a thing that they'll tweak as the league goes on, or is that
They always do.
Okay.
I
wasn't sure if it's
like
one of those
every
things that's
league
set
they
in
always
stone.
like it comes out, they let people mess with it for a couple days because the league's only 2 days old now, really.
Yeah.
So people will mess with it a couple days, they'll collect feedback, and then we'll go from there. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's still like really, it's such a cool idea that I want them to make it work. You know, I want them to tweak those things because I think that's just such a cool, especially for like a game like Path of Exile, which I've not played a lot of, but I know it's a Diablo like, so the kind of, or an isometric action game, like the idea of that mixed with kind of like stealthing your way through a whole map to the end to get the big loot is really cool. So
yeah,
I don't know how it works
definitely
necessarily,
really cool.
but.
I like the idea behind it. I think it's really neat.
Yeah.
However, I do think it needs some tweaking to be like fun in the long term.
Yeah.
Because right now it kind of seems like something you can do when you are not looking to, to really progress your character. Just maybe like try and go cash in on stuff. But if they're going for that angle, I don't think it's rewarding enough to be worth it.
Yeah.
Because you spend so much time and the chance of getting something good is like kind of small. Unless you get super, super lucky, then obviously if you're lucky, you're fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think like it's in a like a really mediocre medium spot right now, and they could take it in a number of different ways to make it really cool in that way, with pretty small adjustments. So we'll see which way they end up going. I think either of them, any way that they try and take it would probably be fine.
Yeah.
Just like right now, I think it tries to do too much stuff, a little bit too much, and sacrifices a bit of being like really good in a certain aspect by trying to be good at a couple different things.
Yeah.
All in all, though, it's really fun. It's a really cool league.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Anything else you've been playing?
Nope.
Is your weekend plans? Cool. Scotty, what about you, man? What you been playing?
Some more Crystal Chronicles. Having a good.
We had a great time. That was so much fun.
I finished my homework. What about you?
I
figured probably not.
I have not. I have been playing something else, unfortunately, but I will. Yeah. I just got to do one level, right? The other level.
Yeah, you effectively have to do one level.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, that was super fun. Us kind of like mapping out our route. I'm curious for us to maybe start finding new stuff. I don't know when that stuff is gonna start showing up. But yeah, you know what? I'll also say like playing with randos. Pretty all right in that game. They're all
right.
They're all
so long as you
overpowered, but
I mean, at the same time, not really.
Yeah,
we only ran into like two people that were above us.
Yeah, they had like better
and
swords.
only one was overpowered too. The other one had the weapon that I had,
yeah,
and then probably also had just some extra stats because they just probably play multiplayer a lot.
Yeah, totally. But it's cool. It's cool that will like start up our game and then people just kind of join us as we're going through the level and stuff. And they're not very disruptive. We haven't had any bad experience. A couple of like, no, we're gonna go look in this corner even though there's nothing there, and you're gonna deal with it. There's just only a couple of those though.
But both of those were us though.
Yeah, exactly. And they were fine with it. So they didn't like rage quit or anything. So yeah, that's fun. I'm looking forward to. I assume if we're going to probably keep streaming those, so just look at it, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday is probably in that time range every week. We'll be playing. Anything else, Scott?
Nothing new. No. Yeah, just same few games.
Yeah. All right.
I'm trying to get Scott to play Path of Exile.
Yeah.
I'm just like, nah. Especially like the last time you told me it, it's like 80% of that game is alone time, something like that. And it's like, I can respect playing a game that I don't really like playing when it's with a bunch of friends, right? Yeah. But 80% of the time is going to be guaranteed alone.
Yeah.
Nah.
I mean, that's great podcasting time, so podcast listening time, so I feel you, Tony.
Yeah, dude, I do so much of that while I'm playing Path of Exile.
Stream watching time, yeah. Totally. Yeah. Or anime watching time if you're feeling really multitasky.
That's tough because you got to read subtitles.
Not if you're a filthy dub person like me. So.
We don't talk about them.
Not if you're a fucking mongrel like me.
Like, but even then, in a game that's, I would say, relatively harder to do that in,
yeah,
I'll still throw open a normal game of League on my and have that on the side, and then watch something on the front monitor.
True.
And still do fine enough.
Yeah, I've definitely so I've been watching The Boys, the Amazon television series The Boys, which is like the first television series I think I've.
I'm sorry, but are they on a road trip?
They're not on a road trip.
They're not The Boys.
Fair enough. It's based on a comic book series named The Boys, apparently. So I don't. But it's very morbid. But it's the first show I've watched in a while, and I tried to watch it while doing something else, and I do that a lot, and it's all right, I can't do that with this show. I don't know if you guys ever get that thing where you're I just want to do something while I watch this, and then it's I can't do that while I play. This show in particular, I can't do anything else while I'm watching it, and I'm both happy about that because it's so engaging, but also frustrated because it's now I'm not getting as much done. Also terrible. Multitasking is probably going to be the death of me, but it's fine. That was a random tangent. I didn't really have a point I was going with that. But yeah, The Boys is grim and dark, Scott. Maybe you'd like it. Have you ever heard of The Boys comic?
Not a bit.
Yeah, it's the idea is if superheroes were real, but very real, they're run by a PR company. And essentially everything they do has to be monitored and checked through legal and PR, and then it turns out all of them are fucking terrible, monstrous people that kill people with complete disregard for human life. It's oh yeah, all right, that kind of makes sense, honestly. And yeah, I've just found that now you gotta just watch a thing. It's better for me to watch a thing than play and watch it, but podcasts. Ain't nothing to watch with a podcast, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. I think that's it for video games. There was a little bit of news this week. The PlayStation 5 release date and price was announced. Not surprising.
Some pretty cool games were shown off too.
Yeah. Anything stick out to you?
There's a lot of just interesting stuff. No huge standouts, but just some cool shit that they showed off.
They've confirmed now Demon's Souls will be there at launch, which is
that game looks so stylish.
Yeah, it's so cool. To see a From Software game, because I think we might have talked about this a little bit last week, but From Software, I love their art design, their world design. They don't necessarily go for super realistic. They go for this gothic realistic look. But to see one of their games, especially the kind of progenitor of all of this, the first Souls game, done up so hugely, there's particle effects and god rays and everything looks detailed, and it's still a From Software game. I think it just looked cool. For me, I know a lot of people or not a lot of people, I should say, I saw some people criticizing that it kind of made the game not look like how it actually plays, which is fair, but it's just fun for the fans that have been with From Software for so long to, I think, just see one of their games with all the effects knob turned up. But yeah, that's there at launch. Miles Morales, they showed it. That's there at launch. The presentation that they did was kind of a clusterfuck, only in that they showed a lot of cool stuff. I think it was a finely paced show. Opened up with Final Fantasy 16. Everybody freaked out, which I don't think that game is fucking real at all.
That game is a trailer.
Yeah, that game is what we saw, and that is it. But them just they came out afterwards saying oh, we will tell you more in 2021. It's yeah, that game's probably not coming out for a while. I think they wanted to make it look far along, but I just we've been burned before. I'm flashing back to 2013 or 2015 when they first showed Final Fantasy VII remake footage done by the CyberConnect studio, the guys that make the Naruto Shippuden games, and that shit didn't fucking happen for 5 more years. So that's all I'm saying. But yeah, I think it was a good show. The problem that myself and a lot of other people had with it is a lot of things in that show had like pretty firm release dates. Like Demon's Souls comes out on November 12th, which is the release date. Miles Morales comes out on November 12th, but none of the things they showed ever like indicated that in the presentation itself, that all these things were kind of announced separately after the fact. Not even on the PlayStation blog. The PlayStation blog was like, oh yeah, this is a game that's coming, and then like 2 days later they put out a post of like, here is the list of the launch games.
Right.
It was just weird. It was poor messaging, and it was poor messaging with the pre-orders. There was a whole pre-order shit that happened, and everyone was pissed.
That's kind of weird for an announcement, event kind of thing, to be like, here's some games, and then later be like, by the way, these are all launch games.
Yeah, right. It didn't make
like, I feel like that's your main key of that, is like, check out this shit that's coming out with the launch, rather
exactly.
than check out these games. Oh, and then the next day, by the way, those are launch games.
By the way, they're going to be out.
Any sense to me?
Yeah, it was terrible. It was honestly like, I've never seen it. To me, it felt like, I can't believe you fucked this up so bad. Like,
yeah, that's kind of weird.
Everyone wants a PlayStation 5. PlayStation is king right now. Like, they're dominating the kind of conversation, the critical perspective. People love it,
It's like there's supposed to be a slide in the presentation.
Yeah, that just got like cut out.
You check out our release games, and then some intern accidentally deleted it.
Yeah, it's so 45 minutes and not 1 minute of it is like the games that are coming out with the console. It was weird, but and there was a whole like, they said pre-orders will go live tomorrow, and then they went live that night.
I was around for that, and people were like, it's PS4 time or PS5 time.
Yeah, and
then I went to look, and like, there's like
everyone's
5 places
out.
you could pre-order it, and it's all sold out. And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't planning on buying one anyway, but this is, people watching online is pretty fun.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I lucked out. I got one pre-ordered on Amazon, it was literally just me being on Twitter at the right time of like, here's the link, and I clicked it, and I was like, cool, got it covered.
Hey, don't touch that pre-order.
Yeah,
because that's what happened with my Switch. I tried to change something or some shit, and they just decided to cancel me instead.
Yeah, I remember, and I it's stuff like that has happened similarly to me. I had like an issue with my PS4 pre-order. I remember back in the day.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I remember I actually contacted Amazon support, and the guy who I was on support with was like, do it exactly this way. And I did it exactly this way, and he was wrong. And he was like, I can't get it back now. It's
gone forever.
Like,
yeah.
You are the worst.
That sucked. I remember this so bullshit. But yeah, they already sent out that email saying like, hey, this might not get there on the release day. We're real sorry about that. So I sneakily,
like their policy is to send that shit.
Yeah, I sneakily got a second pre-order just in case anything goes.
What happens if you just end up with 2 PS5s?
Then I'm gonna sell. So I went with the digital one, which is apparently very difficult to find.
I think that's because no one cares about the DVD drive.
Yeah. And they made a lot less of the all digital one, and it's one of those.
I feel like that's the wrong decision.
They did because they didn't think it would sell as well, but they should have, because it's got that killer.
That's what I'm
price
saying.
point.
I feel like how do you not realize that that's going to be the version that sells?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the reason that I wanted originally, I was going to get the disc version, and I have both pre-ordered. That was the other I got the other one because it was the only one option they had for the secondary option. Is because like if you have any older games, you need to put them in the disc drive in order for them to work on PS5, unless you bought them digitally, which I've slowly been switching my library to a full digital library. I'm like fucking over it, right? I'm ready
for when they like flip the switch and you just don't.
Yeah, and I lose everything. I'm so stoked for it.
Yeah.
Please end me. But so that, and it was my thinking of like, well, I will probably just happily rebuy like a couple of these games that I have on disc on PS5 digitally, and it'll be fine. It's really just a couple of things that I would honestly play again. So that was my thinking, and then I got the backup pre-order that has it. I apparently there were some manufacturing issues with the PS5, and that affected that digital version in particular. So. But even still, yeah, it's they're apparently going to roll out more waves of pre-orders. So if you were out there and you very much want a PS5 on release day, hold on to hope. There might be time to get one still. And I love all the while Xbox is like, hey, you know, at exactly this time and exactly this date, that's when Series X and Series S go up for pre-order. Don't worry about it. It'll be there. There are no surprises with this. Just kind of like the trolling back and forth. But it's $400 for the digital, $500 for the Blu-ray drive one, and coming out November 12th with Demon Souls, Miles Morales, Sackboy's Adventure, and I think a couple other PlayStation things, but also that week is like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Cyberpunk's the week after and stuff like that. So it's cool, you know. It's 2 days. It's literally the same week of Xbox, which is pretty crazy. It's 2 days after on a Thursday, which is also very weird. But I guess this is the year that we are living in. But yeah, we'll kind of resolve a little bit more of that with bets again. The only other news that I pulled this week was there was a new Nintendo Partners Direct, which normally, you know, there's been a few of these. I wouldn't necessarily pull it. I thought it was cool because, one, Hades entered 1.0, just for your point of reference, Tony, since you're a fan of that game. It's also out now on Switch, so I'm going to pick it up as soon as I can because I really want to play that game. So it's crazy being like Spelunky 2 and then Hades are like these two really great roguelikes out there for you to enjoy right now. And I also thought it was cool that Will the Wisps Shadow dropped on Switch. I didn't actually think... There was speculation that the second Ori game would not come to Switch. It was just going to be the first one that came to Switch, but they've now put them both on Switch, and it's the same year it came out. And they've said... I've not checked that version of that game yet, but they said it runs at 60 FPS. Maybe I'll see if I can get a code or something and verify that. But yeah, I think that's cool. That game's great, and not enough people talk about it because it came out literally the fucking day the world ended. So you should, if you've not played it and maybe you were excited about it and then your whole life went to hell, it is a great game that is worth going back to. So please do check it out. That's it. Hey, you haven't checked out Hades at all yet, Tony?
Since I played it last, no, I was just basically like, we played a bunch of it, me and my other friend Alex, which is, I find infinitely amusing that I have another good friend named Alex now because Nabishin has two friends named Tony.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's awesome.
But yeah, he bought the game for me when we played forever ago. And we beat the game several times each, you know, and did a bunch of the end game stuff and the reruns with the higher difficulty thing that Hades does. So we kind of like exhausted all the current content, and it's just like that thing with early access where like I play it, do all the content, and then I'm like, I'm gonna come back to this when it's like a lot more done.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like several balance, or not even balance, but content patches have come out, so that when I come back, there's enough there for me to play it for that long again, you know.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm kind of waiting for that.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited because, you know, Supergiant just makes... I've like literally all of their games have been great for me. I guess Transistor maybe not so much, but I'm excited to play this one. It's a new genre for them, so... But then again, Pyre was also a new genre for them with this weird kind of sports ball game, and I fucking love that. So, cool. I was just curious. That's it. That's the show. Let's wrap things up here. A little bit of outro real quick. If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can email us, mailsack@irrationalpassion.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 404-590-1337. Standard long distance fees do apply. And tweet your questions at irrationalpod with the hashtag IPQ. You can follow the site and this show on Twitter at IrrationalPod. We do other stuff and have other shows that you should check out, and you can check them out there. But you can also follow myself and Nabishin on Twitter. I'm AlFighter27. Nabishin, who's not here tonight, is NABESHIN186. Check him out. We both have Sad Boy Twitters now, so you can go and enjoy that from both of us.
Why are they Sad Boy?
Nabishin tweeted out probably the most exact me tweet that I've ever seen of like, writes out depressing tweet, deletes it, writes out depressing tweet, deletes it, writes out depressing tweet, deletes it, repeat cycle. It's like, yep. Totally know that feeling. I have a lot of drafts of just sad things I've thought. But if you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Check out our video stuff over on YouTube and Twitch. Just look for Irrational Passions. And everything else is on irrationalpassions.com. We've reached the end of the show. It's time for bets. This week's bet. How many human figures, this includes silhouettes, will be on the back of the box of 13 Sentinels? I don't know if you guys have heard of 13 Sentinels. It is a cool.
I bet it's 13.
Oh wow, that would be. You're gonna guess 13. I like that bold bet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 7, just to be different.
5.
I like it. It's a new game from Vanillaware, which they haven't made a game in forever. I think Dragon's Crown Remastered was their last game technically. Yeah, I'm excited, very excited. Last week's bets. What is the PlayStation 5's release date? And then for a bonus free point, what would be their special surprise during the PlayStation 5 conference? You could have argued that there were 2, and I would give points for either, which is Final Fantasy 16 and God of War Ragnarok. But let's see who won. I said Friday, November 6th, and my secret surprise guess was that there would be a new Naughty Dog IP. Nabishin said November 13th, and the surprise would be God of War 2. He got it on both. Spoilers. Scott said November 20th with no surprise, and Tony said October 30th, which I really liked as a bold bet. And the PS5 anime lady becomes a VTuber. I don't know if you remember saying that, but
I do remember saying that. That was hilarious.
So Nabishin won, and he got the surprise right. So he got 2 points there.
Nice.
Which means I am still leading the back of the pack with 3
Hey,
points.
man, if we're playing golf, you're winning.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just 3 above par. Navishna has 13 points, got a 7. Tony, you have 9. That's it.
Wait, how am I that far ahead?
You had a lot of good weeks in a row.
Yeah, it seems that way. I thought Navashin was ahead of me.
He is. He's got 13. You have 9.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Still very much in range to catch up. We've got three months left. So.
You need 10 bets in a row, Alex.
Yeah, I have.
To tie Navashin.
Yeah, I'd have to pull a pretty impressive streak out of my hat right now.
Well, here's the thing though. He doesn't have to tie Nabishin. He just has to not lose to me.
Yeah, exactly. I just have to beat Scott, which has 7 points. I just needed 4 more points. But Scott, you had like 3 great weeks in a row there, so I don't think I'll ever catch up. Let's be real. This is just not my year. That's all right. I like it when you guys win, so that's what's way more interesting for me. That's the show. Thanks everybody for hanging out, for tuning in live if you jumped in the chat, or for listening after the fact. We appreciate you all the same. And thank you to Danny Wiesner for our opening music of 2-Player Co-op and our closing music of The World Is Saved, respectively. Shout out to that dude. Check out his music. He sent me a DM on Twitter, and someday I'll read it or check any of my DMs on Twitter. And we love you all very much. Please stay safe out there. We're thinking of you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Tony, for joining me as always. Big hugs. Love you, boys, all around. I've been your host, Alex O'Neill. Play your games. Stay rational. We will talk to you all next week.
Some kind of titles.
All right, here's the situation. I didn't write any title.
Make up some titles, Alex. Go.
Okay. Path of Heists.
Nope. All right, Scott, make up a title right now.
Dead League.
Wait, why is it dead?
The heist mechanic is very good.
I don't think so.
It just
I
needs
think that
tweaking.
as far as
And I'm flaming it.
as far as previous leagues go, it's not dead at all.
Spelunky 2 is my
Compared to-
Jesus.
It's not. No, it's not dead. It's definitely not dead, but it's still like
can we
a
see
very
the
lackluster mechanic.
I don't
But
think- I don't
as
think
you
that it's
explained,
I think that it's kind of
as you explained, that the mechanic
It's-
itself isn't one that takes away from the other part of the game.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Spelunky 2 is my Jesus.
What if we just name it episode 42069?
I'm good with that. I like that a lot. Who wants to say?
All right, so we only need one person.
I mean, it's got to be you, Tony.
You're listening to the Irrational Passions podcast, episode 42,069.
Nice.
Wait, title card?
That's it. We did it. Thanks everybody for watching. We love you all.
Imagine if we like years and years from now end up at 42,069 and we're like, shit, we did this one
Well,
already.
I'll just rip this, download it, and put it up right in that spot. You know, it'll be easy.
Yeah.
All right, for real. Bye now.